Dr. Amanda Cross wiped her sweaty palms on her lab coat as she looked at the crowd of alien beings sitting in the large meeting room. The space station Kepler Prime had been built just for meetings like this one. 12 different alien species had sent their best scientists to watch her simple demonstration about human strength. She had done this presentation many times before for human audiences, but never for aliens. The room was filled with creatures that still amazed Amanda even after 5 years of working with them. The Zephyrians stood nearly 8 feet tall and looked like they were made of living crystal. Their bodies caught the light and threw rainbow patterns on the walls. The Moltecs looked like giant insects with 4 arms and compound eyes that seemed to see everything at once. The Valens were the strangest of all. They were clouds of gas that somehow held together and could speak through small devices they carried. Amanda had been chosen to give this presentation because she was one of the few humans who could speak the common galactic language well. She had spent years learning how to communicate with these beings, and now she was supposed to show them something as simple as how strong humans were. "Thank you all for coming today," Amanda said, her voice carrying clearly through the translation devices everyone wore. "The Galactic Science Council asked us to demonstrate the physical abilities of baseline humans. We want to show you what a normal human can do." She gestured to the man standing beside her. Jake Murphy was a construction worker from Earth who had volunteered to help with the demonstration. He was average height for a human, with brown hair and strong hands that came from years of physical work. Jake had seemed like the perfect choice because he was so normal. He was not an athlete or a soldier, just a regular person who worked with his hands. "This is Jake Murphy," Amanda continued. "He represents a typical human male. He works in construction, building houses and office buildings. He has no special training in athletics or combat. He is what we would call an ordinary person." Jake waved at the alien audience with a friendly smile. He had been nervous about this trip to the space station, but Amanda had assured him that all he needed to do was be himself. The aliens watched him with interest, taking notes on their various devices. The testing equipment had been built by the Zephyrians specifically for this demonstration. It was designed to measure the physical strength of different species in a fair and accurate way. The device looked like a metal bar with sensors built into it. When someone gripped it and squeezed, it would measure exactly how much force they could apply. Council leader Zixtal, the head Zephyrian scientist, explained how the device worked. His voice created musical tones that the translation devices turned into words. "This instrument has been calibrated to measure force output across all known galactic species. It will give us precise readings that we can compare to our databases." Amanda nodded and turned to Jake. "Are you ready to begin?" Jake rolled up his sleeves and approached the testing device. "Sure thing, Doc. Just squeeze it as hard as I can, right?" "That's right. Just use your normal strength. Don't try to show off or anything." Jake gripped the metal bar with both hands. The sensors immediately began to record data, and numbers appeared on the display screen that everyone could see. Jake squeezed steadily, his face showing mild concentration but no real strain. The numbers on the screen kept climbing. Amanda watched them rise past what she had expected, but she figured the alien measurement system was just different from what she was used to. The alien observers began to murmur among themselves in their various languages. Then something strange happened. Council leader Zixtal's crystalline body began to pulse with a different color, which Amanda had learned meant he was confused or concerned. He looked at the device, then at Jake, then back at the device. "There appears to be an error in the calibration," Zixtal announced to the room. "The readings are showing impossible numbers," Amanda frowned. "What do you mean impossible?" "According to our measurements, this human is exerting nearly 3 times the maximum force that any known species can generate. Either our equipment is malfunctioning or—" He paused, his crystal body pulsing faster. Jake looked puzzled. "Am I doing something wrong? This feels pretty normal to me. Like when I'm trying to open a really tight jar of pickles at home." Dr. Velnara, the lead Moltec scientist, scuttled forward on her 4 legs to examine the device more closely. Her compound eyes reflected the light as she ran her own tests on the equipment. "The calibration is correct," she announced. "The device is functioning within normal parameters." The room fell silent. Amanda felt a chill run down her spine. "Jake, are you straining yourself at all?" "Not really," Jake replied, still holding the device. "I could probably squeeze harder if you need me to." No, Amanda said quickly. "That's enough for now." But the aliens were not satisfied with just one test. They brought out more equipment, devices to measure lifting strength, grip endurance, and reaction time. Each test produced results that made the alien scientists more and more agitated. Jake lifted weights that the database said should require mechanical assistance for most species. His grip strength registered numbers that were supposed to be impossible for biological creatures. When they tested his endurance, he held heavy objects for periods of time that exceeded what their computers said was theoretically possible. "I don't understand what's happening," Amanda whispered to Dr. Valnara during a break between tests. "These readings can't be right." The Moltec scientist's antennae twitched with what Amanda had learned was anxiety. "Dr. Cross, I have studied the biology of hundreds of species across the galaxy. I have never seen readings like these from any biological creature. According to our science, your friend Jake should not be able to do what he is doing." "But he's completely normal," Amanda insisted. "He's just a regular construction worker. There are billions of humans just like him." That statement made Dr. Valnara's eyes widen in what Amanda could only interpret as fear. "Billions? You're saying there are billions of creatures on your world with these capabilities?" Amanda nodded, confused by the question. "Of course, I mean, some humans are stronger than others and some are weaker, but Jake is pretty typical." The alien scientists exchanged looks that Amanda couldn't interpret, but she could sense their growing concern. They asked Jake to perform more tests, each one producing results that seemed to shock them more than the last dot when they tested Jake's reaction time. Asking him to respond to light signals, he moved faster than creatures that had evolved specifically for speed. When they measured his bone density using their scanners, the numbers were so high that they ran the test 3 times to make sure it was accurate. "Your skeletal structure alone should make movement impossible," Dr. Valnara told Amanda privately. "The density we're measuring should cause your bones to collapse under their own weight." "But that's ridiculous," Amanda replied. "Humans have been walking around just fine for thousands of years." "That's exactly what concerns us," the Moltec scientist said quietly. As the day wore on, more and more alien scientists arrived at the space station. Word had spread quickly through the galactic community that something unprecedented was happening. Jake continued to perform the tests with good humor, completely unaware of the growing crisis his normal abilities were causing. By the end of the demonstration, the meeting room was packed with alien observers, all of them staring at Jake as if he were some kind of impossible creature. The human construction worker just stood there, looking slightly tired but otherwise perfectly normal. "So, did I do okay?" Jake asked Amanda as they prepared to leave. Amanda looked at the crowd of shocked alien faces and felt a growing sense that their simple demonstration had changed everything. "Jake, I think you did better than anyone expected." She had no idea how right she was or how much trouble that might cause for humanity. 3 days after the demonstration, Kepler Prime Space Station was buzzing with activity. Ships from all over the galaxy were arriving every few hours, bringing scientists who had heard about the impossible human test results. Dr. Amanda Cross had barely slept since the demonstration ended. She kept getting calls from researchers who wanted to verify the data or run more tests. Jake Murphy sat in the station's cafeteria, eating what the food machines called Earth-style breakfast, and watching the alien scientists hurry past his table. He still did not understand why everyone was so excited about his grip strength, but he was happy to help with more tests if they needed him. "Jake, there you are," Amanda said as she rushed into the cafeteria. "We have more volunteers coming up from Earth today. The Galactic Science Council wants to test more humans to see if your results were just unusual." Jake looked up from his artificial eggs. "More people like me? That's good, I guess." "I was starting to feel like some kind of weird science experiment," Amanda sat down across from him, looking tired and worried. Actually, Jake, I think you might be more normal than any of us realized. That's what's got everyone so concerned. Before Jake could ask what she meant, a new group of aliens entered the cafeteria. Leading them was Dr. Velnora, the Moltec scientist who had been so worried about Jake's test results. Behind her came a creature that Amanda had never seen before. Something that looked like a walking tree with dozens of eyes covering its bark-like skin. Dr. Cross, Dr. Velnara said, her forearms gesturing excitedly. I want you to meet Dr. Theckmore from the Botanical Collective. He specializes in impossible biology, life forms that shouldn't exist according to our understanding of physics. The tree-like being stepped forward, its many eyes focusing on Jake. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind blowing through. Leaves. Mr. Murphy, I have traveled 16 light years to meet you. In my 300 years of studying impossible life forms, I have never encountered readings like yours. Jake pushed his plate away and stood up to shake hands, then realized the alien did not have hands. Instead, he gave a polite nod. Nice to meet you too. Though I still don't get why everyone thinks I'm so special. Dr. Theckmore's eyes blinked in what might have been amusement. That, Mr. Murphy, is perhaps the most fascinating thing about you. You truly do not understand how extraordinary you are. More humans arrived that afternoon on a transport ship from Earth. Amanda had requested a diverse group, men and women of different ages and backgrounds who could represent normal human capabilities. There was Lisa Stone, a mechanic who worked on hover cars. Ben Carter taught elementary school children. Mary Johnson was a nurse at a hospital. Rick Davis delivered packages for a shipping company. Susan Clark worked at a bank, and Tony Martinez was a chef at a restaurant. All of them were curious about the space station and excited to help with the scientific tests, but none of them understood why they had been chosen. Amanda had simply told them that the alien scientists wanted to study normal human physical abilities. The testing began again. The next morning in a much larger laboratory. The alien scientists had brought equipment from their homeworlds, creating a room filled with devices that hummed and blinked with strange lights. Dr. Velnara had organized the tests to be more thorough and scientific than the simple demonstration. Jake had given Lisa Stone was the first to be tested. The mechanic stepped up to the strength measuring device and gripped it firmly. Like Jake, she squeezed without any apparent effort, chatting with Amanda about how different the space station was from Earth. The numbers on the display climbed. Just as high as Jake's had, Dr. Velnara's compound eyes reflected the light as she stared at the impossible readings. The same results? She muttered. Exactly the same impossible results. Ben Carter, the schoolteacher, was next. He was smaller than Jake and Lisa and looked like he spent more time with books than with physical work. But when he gripped the testing device, the numbers were just as high. I don't understand, Ben said, looking at the confused alien scientists. Did I do something wrong? Dr. Theckmore's many eyes focused on Ben with intense interest. Mr. Carter, you mentioned that you work with children. Are human children also capable of these feats of strength? Ben laughed. Kids? Oh no, they're much weaker than adults. Though I guess some of the older ones can be pretty strong when they want to be. This answer seemed to disturb the alien scientists even more. Amanda noticed them exchanging worried glances and speaking in hushed tones in their own languages. The tests continued through the day. Mary Johnson, the nurse, lifted weights that should have required mechanical assistance. Rick Davis, the delivery driver, showed endurance levels that exceeded what the alien databases said was possible for biological creatures. Susan Clark demonstrated grip strength that made Dr. Velnara's instruments beep with warning sounds, but it was Tony Martinez, the chef, who produced the most shocking results. When they tested his reaction time, asking him to respond to light signals as quickly as possible, he moved faster than creatures that had evolved specifically for speed. This is impossible, Dr. Velnara announced to the room full of scientists. Mr. Martinez, you work with food preparation, correct? You are not a warrior or an athlete? Tony nodded, confused by the question. Yeah, I cook at a restaurant downtown. Nothing fancy, just burgers and sandwiches mostly. Why? Because you just demonstrated reaction times that approach the theoretical limits of biological possibility. According to our science, only our most advanced cybernetic organisms can move that fast. Tony looked around the room at the staring alien faces. I just moved when I saw the light. That's normal, right? Amanda felt a chill run through her as she realized what was happening. These were not unusual humans. They were completely ordinary. People doing completely ordinary things. But somehow, what humans considered ordinary was extraordinary by galactic standards. Dr. Velnora called for a break in the testing and asked Amanda to join her in a private meeting room. The Moltec scientists. Four arms moved nervously as she spoke. Dr. Cross, I need to ask you some very important questions about your species. How long have humans been evolving on your homeworld? Amanda thought for a moment. Earth? Well, modern humans have been around for about 200,000 years. But our ancestors go back millions of years before that. And what are the conditions like on your world? Gravity, atmosphere, temperature? Pretty normal, I guess. Gravity is about what you'd expect for a planet our size. The atmosphere is mostly nitrogen and oxygen. Temperatures vary, but most of the planet is comfortable for human life. Dr. Velnara's compound eyes seemed to grow larger. Dr. Cross, I need to show you something that I think will shock you. She activated a holographic display that showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Thousands of worlds appeared as colored dots, each one labeled with information about its environment. These are all the inhabited worlds in our galaxy, Dr. Velnara explained. The colors represent different categories of habitability. Blue worlds are normal, comfortable places where most species can survive. Green worlds are a bit challenging but manageable. Yellow worlds are difficult and require special equipment. Amanda studied the map, noting that most of the dots were blue or green. Okay, so where's Earth? Dr. Velnara manipulated the display, zooming in on a section of the galaxy that Amanda recognized as their local area. Earth should be right here, she said, pointing to an empty space. I don't see it, Amanda said, confusion growing in her voice. That's because Earth is not shown on this map. This map only shows worlds that are considered habitable by galactic standards. Dr. Velnara paused, her antennae twitching with anxiety. Dr. Cross, according to our classification system, Earth is a Class 12 death world. Amanda stared at the alien scientist. A what? A death world, a planet so hostile that the Galactic Council has standing orders to avoid it entirely. The gravity alone is more than triple what most species can survive long-term. The atmospheric pressure would crush most of our people. The temperature variations would be lethal to the majority of galactic life. The room seemed to spin around Amanda as she processed this information. But that's impossible. Earth is our home. We've lived there for thousands of years. Exactly, Dr. Velnara said quietly. You've lived and evolved on a world that we consider uninhabitable. Your species has spent its entire evolutionary history adapting to conditions that would kill most galactic life within minutes. Amanda sank into a chair, her mind reeling. So you're saying that humans are strong because Earth is a dangerous place? I'm saying that what you consider normal human strength is actually the result of evolving on one of the most hostile worlds in the galaxy. Every human who walks around casually on Earth is performing feats that would be considered superhuman by 99% of galactic life. The implications hit Amanda like a physical blow. Jake, Lisa, Ben, Mary, Rick, Susan, and Tony, all of them were not just ordinary humans. They were survivors of impossible conditions, adapted to thrive in an environment that was essentially a torture chamber by galactic standards. How many humans are there on Earth? Dr. Velnara asked quietly. Amanda's voice was barely a whisper. About 8 billion. Dr. Cale Voss had been working without sleep for 2 days straight. The human physicist had locked himself in one of Kepler Prime's research labs, surrounded by alien computers and data from the strength tests. Empty coffee cups covered every surface, and his hair stuck up in all directions from running his hands through it. So many times Amanda found him there on the third morning, staring at holographic displays that showed Earth's gravitational measurements compared to other worlds in the galaxy. The numbers floating in the air around him looked like some kind of impossible math problem. "Kale, you need to get some rest," Amanda said, stepping carefully around the scattered papers and equipment. Kale looked up at her with wide, excited eyes. "Amanda, I figured it out. I know why we're so strong. I know why those aliens are so scared of us." Amanda sat down in the only clear chair she could find. "Tell me." Kale waved his hand and the holographic display changed to show a three-dimensional model of Earth. "Look at this, really look at it. We've been thinking about this all wrong." The model showed Earth spinning slowly, with numbers and measurements floating around it. Amanda had seen similar displays before in school, but nothing had ever seemed unusual about them. "Earth's gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared," Kale said, pointing to one of the numbers. "We've always known that. It's been in our textbooks for centuries. But look at this." He gestured, and more planets appeared around Earth, dozens of them from all over the galaxy. Each one had its own gravity measurement floating nearby. The average gravity for inhabited worlds in the galaxy is 3.2 meters per second squared. Kale continued. "Amanda, our homeworld has 3 times the gravity of what most species consider normal." Amanda stared at the display, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing. "But that's impossible. We live there just fine." Exactly the point," Kale said, his voice growing more excited. "We don't just live there, we thrive there. We run and jump and play sports in gravity that would crush most galactic life. Our bones, our muscles, our entire cardiovascular system evolved to handle forces that other species can't even imagine." He pulled up another display showing comparative anatomy. Side by side were images of human bone structure next to the bone structure of other galactic species. The difference was dramatic. "Look at our bones," Kale said, pointing to the human skeleton. "They're incredibly dense, much denser than they should be for a species our size. Our muscle fibers are packed together more tightly than should be. Possible. Our hearts pump blood at pressures that would be lethal to most other life forms." Amanda studied the comparisons, feeling a growing sense of amazement and horror. "So we're not just strong by galactic standards, we're built like living machines." "Better than machines," Kale replied. "We're biological creatures that evolved to operate in conditions that would destroy most artificial systems. Every human who walks around on Earth is doing something that 99% of the galaxy would consider superhuman." Before Amanda could respond, the lab door opened and Dr. Velnara entered with several other alien scientists. The Moltec's compound eyes immediately focused on Kale's displays. "Dr. Voss, we need to discuss your findings with the Emergency Council," Dr. Velnara said. "The implications of your research are causing panic in several sectors." Kale nodded and began explaining his discoveries to the gathered scientists. As he spoke, Amanda watched their reactions with growing concern. The crystalline Zephyrians pulsed with colors she had never seen before. The gaseous valens swirled in patterns that seemed agitated. Even Dr. Theckmore's many eyes blinked rapidly with what appeared to be distress. "You're telling us that humans are naturally adapted to survive in conditions that we classify as impossible?" asked Dr. Silvex, a Zephyrian physicist who had arrived that morning. "Not just survive," Kale corrected. "Thrive. Humans don't just endure Earth's conditions, they excel in them. We play sports, we dance, we work physically demanding jobs. What you call a death world, we call home." Dr. Velnara's forearms moved nervously. "Dr. Voss, we need to conduct more tests. We need to see how humans perform under normal galactic conditions." Within hours, they had set up a new testing area with artificial gravity generators. The alien scientists wanted to see what would happen when humans were placed in the lower gravity that most species considered normal. Jake Murphy was the first to volunteer as usual. The construction worker stepped into the low-gravity chamber with his characteristic easygoing attitude. "So you just want me to walk around in here?" "Just move normally," Dr. Velnara instructed. "Pretend you're working on one of your construction projects." Jake began to move, and immediately everyone could see that something extraordinary was happening. In the reduced gravity, every step Jake took launched him much farther than he intended. When he reached for a tool, his arm moved with such speed that it looked like a blur to the alien observers. "Whoa," Jake said, laughing as he nearly jumped to the ceiling. "This is like being on the moon or something." But the alien scientists were not laughing. They were recording everything with intense focus, their instruments beeping and flashing as they measured Jake's movements. "His reaction time has increased by 40%, Dr. Velnara announced. His strength output relative to the local conditions has tripled." Dr. Theckmore's many eyes focused on Jake with fascination. "Mr. Murphy, in this environment, you are demonstrating capabilities that exceed our most advanced cybernetic organisms." Jake looked confused. "I'm just walking around. This isn't hard." That statement sent another wave of concern through the alien scientists. Amanda realized that, once again, Jake's casual attitude toward his own abilities was more frightening to the aliens than the abilities themselves. They tested more humans in the low-gravity environment. Lisa Stone moved so fast that the motion sensors had trouble tracking her. Ben Carter lifted objects that should have required heavy machinery. Mary Johnson demonstrated endurance that the alien computers said was theoretically impossible. The most shocking test came when they asked Tony Martinez to prepare a meal in the low-gravity kitchen. The chef moved with such precision and speed that he seemed to be performing some kind of superhuman dance. His knife work was so fast that it appeared as streaks of light, and he completed tasks that would normally take an hour in just minutes. "This is not normal," Dr. Silvex said, his crystalline body pulsing with rapid color changes. "This level of performance should not be possible for biological creatures." Tony looked up from the perfect meal he had just prepared. "Sorry, did I do something wrong? I was just cooking like I always do." Dr. Velnara turned to Amanda with an expression that somehow managed to look both amazed and terrified. "Dr. Cross, your species has been living their entire existence in what we would consider a crushing gravitational field. When you remove that handicap, humans become something beyond our current understanding of biological limits." Amanda stared at her fellow humans, seeing them with new eyes. Jake, Lisa, Ben, Mary, Rick, Susan, and Tony all looked perfectly normal to her. But she was beginning to understand that normal for humans was extraordinary for everyone else. "What does this mean for us?" Amanda asked. "What does this mean for humanity's place in the galaxy?" Before Dr. Velnara could answer, alarms began, blaring throughout the space station. Emergency lights flashed red, and announcement systems activated in dozens of languages. "All personnel to emergency stations," came the voice of Station Commander Yixnal. "We have received urgent communications from the Galactic Council. All research activities are to be suspended immediately." Dr. Velnara's compound eyes reflected the flashing lights. "Dr. Cross, I believe your species has just become the most important topic in galactic politics. The news of human capabilities has reached the homeworlds, and the reactions are not what we had hoped." Amanda felt a chill run through her as she realized that their simple physics demonstration had grown into something much bigger and more dangerous than anyone had anticipated. The galaxy was reacting to the news that humans were naturally superhuman, and that reaction was not going to be good for humanity. She looked at Jake, who was still bouncing slightly in the low gravity, completely unaware that his casual display of impossible abilities might have just changed the fate of his entire species. Amanda realized that humanity's greatest strength might also become their greatest problem. The truth was out now, and there was no going back. 8 billion humans lived on Earth, each one capable of feats that the galaxy considered superhuman. The question was no longer whether humans were extraordinary, it was whether the galaxy could handle that truth. The emergency council meeting took place in the largest conference room on Kepler Prime. Amanda had never seen so many different alien species gathered in one place. Representatives from dozens of worlds filled the chamber, their various forms creating a bizarre but impressive sight. The air hummed with translation devices working overtime to convert the many languages being spoken. At the center of it all sat Ambassador Rachel Torres, humanity's representative to the Galactic Council. She looked small and fragile compared to the massive aliens around her, but Amanda knew that appearances were deceiving. After the recent discoveries, every human looks small and fragile while actually being incredibly powerful. Council Leader Zixtal called the meeting to order, with a harmonic tone that made the crystal walls of the station ring like bells. We are here to address what has been classified as a Code 7 galactic emergency. The recent discoveries about human physical capabilities have created unprecedented concerns throughout our member worlds. Amanda sat in the observation section with Jake, Lisa, Ben, Mary, Rick, Susan, and Tony. The human volunteers looked confused and worried. They still did not fully understand why their normal abilities were causing such a massive reaction. "I don't get it," Jake whispered to Amanda. "Why is everyone so upset?" "We're just regular people." Before Amanda could answer, a Moltec military commander stood up. His name was General Kixvar, and his forearms were covered in what looked like ceremonial armor. "Council leader, the military implications of these discoveries cannot be ignored. According to our analysis, a single human soldier could theoretically overpower entire squads of our best-trained warriors." Murmurs of agreement and concern rippled through the chamber. Amanda felt her stomach drop as she realized where this conversation was heading. Ambassador Torres stood up calmly. "General Kixvar, I understand your concerns, but I must remind the Council that humans have been part of the galactic community for 5 years without any incidents of violence or aggression. We have always been peaceful." "But you are not aware of your true capabilities," interrupted Dr. Silvex, the Zephyrian physicist. "Now that humans know they possess what we consider superhuman abilities, how can we predict their behavior?" Rachel Torres looked directly at the Zephyrian. "Dr. Silvex, knowing that we are strong does not make us violent. Humans have lived with these abilities for our entire existence. We have always known we could hurt each other, but we choose not to. That is what makes us civilized." A new voice spoke up from the back of the chamber. It belonged to Commander Velfic of the Valen Defense Force, whose gaseous form swirled with agitated patterns. "Ambassador Torres, with respect, your people have been living with these abilities without realizing how extraordinary they were. Now that this knowledge is spreading, how do we know that humans will not decide to use their advantages for conquest?" The chamber erupted in discussions as various species voiced their concerns. Amanda listened to the translations with growing horror. The Botanical Collective worried about humans colonizing their worlds. The Crystalline Federation discussed restrictions on human movement through their space. The Insectoid Alliance suggested mandatory monitoring of all human activities. Through it all, Jake and the other volunteers sat quietly, looking more and more upset as they realized they were being talked about as if they were dangerous weapons rather than people. "This is crazy," Susan Clark whispered. "They're talking about us like we're monsters." Ambassador Torres raised her hand for silence. "Council members, I understand your concerns, but I must point out that these fears are based on assumptions rather than evidence. Humans have demonstrated nothing but peaceful intentions throughout our contact with the galactic community." But the potential for harm is enormous," argued Dr. Velnara, who had been quiet until now. "Ambassador, I have studied your people extensively over the past week. The average human child possesses grip strength equivalent to our adult military specialists. Your elderly demonstrate endurance that exceeds our Olympic athletes. This is not a matter of current intentions, it is a matter of capability." General Kixvar activated a holographic display that showed comparative military statistics. "According to our projections, a human infantry unit operating in standard galactic conditions could defeat forces 10 times their size. Their reaction speeds, strength, and endurance give them advantages that our military science cannot counter." Jake Murphy stood up suddenly, his face red with anger. Now hold on just a minute. You're talking about us like we're some kind of army ready to attack you. I build houses for a living. I've never hurt anyone in my life. The chamber fell silent as every alien eye sensor and detection device focused on Jake. Amanda realized that even his moment of mild anger was being analyzed and recorded as a potential threat. Mr. Murphy, Council Leader Zixtal said carefully, no one is suggesting that you personally are dangerous, but you must understand our position. We have discovered that what you consider normal human abilities are far beyond what any of us can match. This creates an imbalance that threatens the stability of our entire galactic community. Lisa Stone stood up beside Jake. So what are you saying? That we're too strong to be allowed to exist? The question hung in the air like a physical weight. Amanda could see the fear in the alien faces around the chamber, but she could also see the fear in her fellow humans. This meeting was rapidly becoming a trial, where humanity's right to exist was being questioned. Ambassador Torres spoke with careful diplomacy. Council members, I propose that we approach this situation with the same wisdom that has kept peace in our galaxy for centuries. Yes, humans are physically capable in ways that are unusual by galactic standards. But capability does not equal intent. We have 5 years of peaceful contact to prove our intentions. But what about the future? Asked Dr. Theckmore, his many eyes blinking rapidly. What happens when more humans learn about their true capabilities? What happens when human children grow up knowing they are superhuman by galactic standards? Tony Martinez laughed bitterly. Superhuman? Lady, I cook hamburgers for a living? Yesterday I was worried about paying my rent. Today I find out that the whole galaxy is afraid of me because I can open pickle jars without asking for help. His comment drew nervous laughter from some of the aliens, but the tension in the room remained thick. Dr. Velnara presented her research to the council. Based on our studies, humans demonstrate physical capabilities that exceed our theoretical maximums for biological life. They possess strength that rivals our mechanical systems, endurance that surpasses our best athletes, and reaction times that approach our computer networks. Most concerning, they appear to be entirely unaware of how extraordinary these abilities are. That's what makes them dangerous, General Kixvar added. They do not think of themselves as superhuman, so they do not consider the impact of their actions on less capable species. Amanda finally stood up. Council members, may I address the chamber? After receiving permission, she walked to the center of the room. I am Dr. Amanda Cross, and I have been studying galactic biology for 5 years. I have worked with many of your species, and I have learned to respect your intelligence and wisdom. But I think you are making a fundamental error in your analysis. She gestured to Jake and the other volunteers. You see these people as superhuman because you are comparing them to your own capabilities. But humans do not compare themselves to you. We compare ourselves to each other. Jake is not unusually strong for a human. Lisa is not unusually fast. They are completely normal by our standards. That is exactly the problem, Dr. Silvex interrupted. Your normal is our impossible, Amanda nodded. Yes, it is. But that does not make us dangerous. It makes us different. Humans have lived with these abilities for our entire evolutionary history. We have built civilizations, created art, developed science, and learned to live in peace with each other despite knowing we could cause great harm. The fact that we are physically capable but choose to be peaceful should reassure you, not frighten you. The chamber erupted in discussion again. Amanda could see that some of the aliens were beginning to consider her words, but others remained convinced that humanity posed an existential threat to galactic stability. Ambassador Torres returned to the center of the chamber. Council members, I understand that this discovery has created fear and uncertainty. But I ask you to remember that actions matter more than capabilities. Humans have demonstrated 5 years of peaceful behavior. We have contributed to galactic science, trade, and culture. We have asked for nothing more than to be accepted as equals. But you are not equals, General Kixvar said bluntly. You are superior in every physical metric we can measure. How can there be equality when one species possesses such overwhelming advantages? The question echoed through the chamber, and Amanda realized that this was the heart of the crisis. It was not really about whether humans were dangerous. It was about whether the galaxy could accept a species that was naturally more physically capable than everyone else. Jake Murphy walked to the center of the chamber, his work boots echoing on the crystal floor. "I've been listening to all of you talk about how strong and fast and dangerous we are. But you know what? I came here to help with a science demonstration." 6 months after the emergency council meeting, Amanda Cross stood in the observation deck of the research station orbiting Kepler 442b, watching human and alien scientists work together on the planet's surface below. The world had been classified as uninhabitable for decades because of its high gravity and dense atmosphere, but now it was humanity's first colony outside the solar system. Jake Murphy was down there somewhere, leading a construction crew that included both humans and aliens. His team was building research facilities that would allow scientists from across the galaxy to study extreme environments safely. The irony was not lost on Amanda, the man who had started this whole crisis by demonstrating superhuman strength, was now using that strength to help the galaxy explore places they had never been able to reach. "The integration has gone better than we expected," said Dr. Velnara, joining Amanda at the observation window. The Moltec scientist had become one of humanity's strongest supporters after spending months studying human psychology and behavior. Amanda nodded, watching a group of human workers easily carrying equipment that would have required heavy machinery for other species. "I still remember how terrified everyone was 6 months ago." The transformation had not happened overnight. After Jake's speech to the emergency council, the galaxy had spent weeks debating what to do about humanity. Some species had called for restrictions on human movement. Others had suggested mandatory monitoring of all human activities. A few had even proposed relocating humans to isolated worlds where they could not threaten anyone, but then something unexpected had happened. Dr. Thekmore, the tree-like scientist who studied impossible biology, had made a proposal that changed everything. Instead of fearing human capabilities, he had argued, we should celebrate them. These beings have survived on a world that kills most life forms. They have evolved to thrive in conditions we consider impossible. Rather than seeing them as threats, we should see them as partners who can help us explore regions of space we have never been able to reach. The Crystalline Collective had been the first to embrace this idea. Their homeworlds were high gravity, environments that other species found difficult to visit. Humans, however, found them only moderately challenging. Within weeks of the council meeting, human scientists were working alongside crystalline researchers on projects that had been stalled for decades. The Botanical Collective had followed suit, inviting human agricultural specialists to help them develop farming techniques for harsh environments. The Insectoid Alliance had requested human engineers to help them build structures on high-gravity worlds. Even the Valens, who existed as gaseous beings, had found ways to work with humans in exploring dangerous nebulae and stellar phenomena. Amanda smiled as she remembered the moment when the galaxy's perception of humanity had truly changed. It had happened during the first joint human-alien expedition to a Class 10 death world. The planet had crushing gravity, toxic atmosphere, and surface temperatures that fluctuated between freezing and boiling. The alien members of the expedition had required environmental suits and mechanical support systems just to survive, but Jake Murphy and his human teammates had walked around in basic protective gear, working for hours without fatigue. They had set up equipment, collected samples, and established a research base in conditions that would have been impossible for any other species to handle. "It was like watching gods work," Dr. Silvex had said afterward, "but gods who were friendly and helpful and completely unaware of their own divine nature." That expedition had opened the door to dozens of similar projects. Humans were now working throughout the galaxy, not as conquerors or threats, but as partners uniquely suited to challenges that had previously been insurmountable. The door to the observation deck opened, and Ben Carter walked in, still wearing his environmental suit from the planet's surface. The former school teacher had become one of the galaxy's leading experts on extreme environment education. teaching alien children about worlds they could never visit in person. How did the class go today? Amanda asked. Ben grinned as he removed his helmet. Great, the young Zephyrians are especially interested in geology. They want to know how humans can walk on planets with active volcanoes and earthquakes. And what did you tell them? The same thing I always tell them, that we're not special, we're just adapted to a different kind of normal. Their world has beautiful crystal formations and harmonic resonances that humans could never create. Our world has high gravity and geological instability that we learn to live with. Every species has their own strengths. Amanda appreciated Ben's diplomatic approach. In the months since the revelation, humans had worked hard to present themselves as partners rather than superiors. It had not always been easy, especially when some humans had initially been excited about being considered superhuman, but the galaxy had gradually come to understand that human strength was not about superiority, it was about adaptation. Humans were not better than other species. They were different in ways that could be helpful rather than threatening. The communication system activated, and Jake Murphy's voice filled the observation deck. Hey, Amanda, are you up there? We've got something cool to show you. Amanda activated the response system. What is it, Jake? We just finished the foundation for the new research center. The Zephyrian architects wanted to see if we could build something that would be impossible on their worlds. Come down and take a look. Amanda and Ben took the transport shuttle down to the planet's surface. The gravity was about twice what they were used to on Earth, but after months of training, it felt manageable. For the alien workers, it would have been crushing without their mechanical assistance. They found Jake standing beside a massive construction project. The building was unlike anything Amanda had ever seen, a towering structure that seemed to defy gravity, with crystalline spires and impossible angles that could only exist in the high-gravity environment. The Zephyrians designed it, Jake explained, gesturing to the alien architects who were examining their work with obvious pride. But they could never build it on their own worlds. The gravity isn't strong enough to support the structure. Only here, with this much gravitational force, can something like this exist. Amanda stared at the building, realizing that it perfectly symbolized what humanity had become in the galaxy. They were not replacing other species or dominating them. They were enabling them to achieve things that had been impossible before. Dr. Velnara approached them, her forearms moving excitedly. This is just the beginning. We have proposals for research stations on 12 more death worlds. Projects that have been theoretical for centuries are now becoming reality, because humans can work in environments that we cannot survive. Lisa Stone joined them, her mechanics coveralls covered in the planet's reddish dust. It's weird, you know? 6 months ago, I was just fixing hover cars in a garage. Now I'm helping build research facilities that will study black holes and neutron stars. Do you miss the old life? Amanda asked. Lisa thought for a moment. Sometimes, but this is pretty amazing too. I mean, I'm using my skills to help explore the universe. That's not something I ever expected when I was growing up. Tony Martinez emerged from the construction site's temporary kitchen, carrying a tray of food. Lunch is ready. I made something that should work for everyone's dietary needs. As they sat down to eat together, humans and aliens working side by side, Amanda reflected on how much had changed. The galaxy had initially seen humanity as a threat because of their physical capabilities. But over time, they had come to understand that humanity's greatest strength was not their muscles or bones or cardiovascular systems. Their greatest strength was their ability to adapt, to cooperate, and to use their capabilities to help others rather than to dominate them. Jake Murphy raised his cup of coffee and a toast. To partnership across the stars. The alien members of the team raised their various drinking containers in response. Dr. Velnara's translator rendered her words as, "To the species that makes the impossible possible." Amanda smiled as she realized that Jake's simple physics demonstration had indeed changed everything, but not in the way anyone had expected. Instead of revealing humanity as a threat, it had revealed them as the galaxy's most capable partners and friends. The humans were still superhuman by galactic standards. But now the galaxy understood that superhuman did not mean superior. It meant uniquely qualified to help with challenges that had seemed impossible before. Jake Murphy went back to work after lunch. Still the same friendly construction worker? He had always been. But now he was building humanity's future among the stars. One impossible project at a time. The unexpected physics demo had revealed human super strength. But more importantly, it had revealed human character, and that had made all the difference.